So I think there are a couple different areas of risk that occur when people don't wear a mask. So if an unvaccinated person doesn't have a mask on, they're at risk of getting COVID themselves, and then they're at very high risk of transmitting that to other people as well. We've known all along that people who don't have symptoms can still transmit COVID, and so the worry is that somebody unvaccinated would get exposed, get COVID, and then spread it on to somebody else. So they're at the same risk they've been at throughout the entire pandemic. The worry with this, more and more people being vaccinated is people have a sense that things are a lot safer, but they're really no safer than they were because we haven't hit herd immunity yet. So for those of us who are vaccinated, it's much safer. We can still get COVID, and we do still get COVID, but most people who get COVID once vaccinated aren't as sick. It's unclear yet whether or not we can transmit COVID if we're fully vaccinated. We'd like to believe that we can't, but we don't have any proof of that. It doesn't seem like we transmit it as easily, but we really don't know yet. This is all still so new, and we just don't have enough information to make some of these big decisions. So as a vaccinated person, I'm keeping my mask on when I'm inside around other people. Outside, as long as you're not in very close contact with people in a crowd or around a lot of other people for an extended period of time, or around any one person for an extended period of time, outside it's still safe to be without your mask as long as you're not in extended close contact or a crowd. Inside, if I'm around anybody else, I've got my mask on, and I'm still staying distance for the most part from other unvaccinated people. With vaccinated people, we're checking in with each other. If there's nobody unvaccinated around, I think it's probably safe to take your mask off, but I have to be honest, it's making me nervous. I'm still keeping it on most of the time. And I have to say, I think it's going to be a very long time before I feel comfortable doing something like go into a store or go into a public place with people I don't know and take my mask off. I just don't think it's safe yet. The mask does stop transmission of the virus as well as just about anything we know of. And so honestly, I think everybody should keep their mask on when they're around anybody who's unvaccinated. The more masks between you and somebody else at this point, the better. So I think, if someone's in a room with my kid who hasn't yet completed her vaccination, I would hope that they did have a mask on. And when you're inside in a classroom full of kids, even once everybody's vaccinated, I think it's pretty reasonable to keep the masks on. I know the masks are an inconvenience, but having COVID is a much greater inconvenience than wearing a mask. We are really fortunate in this country now to have enough masks for everybody to wear, and I think it's a really small price to pay to keep everybody around us safe. People who have people who have immune issues, people who are on chemotherapy, people's immune systems aren't functioning fully, may not respond as well to the vaccine as those of us who have fully functioning immune systems do. So even if you're vaccinated, if you have an immune issue, it's probably not as much protection as we would like it to be. So, kids are going into school, getting exposed to COVID, potentially bringing it home to family members who don't have the full protection of the vaccine at this point in time. It's still really, really risky. So I think it's so important that everybody keeps their masks on inside until we absolutely know how this is behaving.
Okay, so I think you answered all of my questions. Is there anything else besides what you just added that you want to add?
Just like, be careful. I think it's really hard as a healthcare provider who's been on the front line of this for over a year now to see people not taking this seriously. I know it's been a really, really long road, and we're all ready to get back to some semblance of normal or move forward to some semblance of normal, but we just aren't there yet. We still need to be careful. This thing is still so dangerous, and we still don't know enough about it. Everybody needs to get vaccinated, and everybody needs to stay in a mask until we are all vaccinated. I think we're still at this really dangerous point where if all goes well and everybody's willing to get vaccinated and the vaccine works and we don't get too many variants, we may be out of this pretty soon, but it could just as easily go the other way, and we could be right back where we were in our surge this winter. So I think the more careful we can be now, the better.